All right, happy Saturday, everybody. We've got some important information to cover with you today in this training. I'm going to be talking about some late breaking industry news that has just happened in the last 24 hours, so very time sensitive to understand what's going on in the industry and with the economy. And I think there's a lot of things right now that are definitely an opportunity for us. So before I get into that, we have some announcements to make regarding Vegas. Eva's going to make one. I'm going to make one. And so I'm going to actually turn things over to Eva to share a little bit about our service project. We do have some capacity limitations that she wants to go through. So we're asking for everybody that is planning on participating to listen up and get this information to your teams so that you can make sure that we have a space for you for this incredible event that we're going to participate in on the Friday, May 23rd of our convention weekend. So, Eva, I'm going to turn things over to you.
Okay, great. Thank you, Wes. And good morning, everyone. Happy Saturday. Just a reminder, our Give Life project in Las Vegas is with Clean the World, and their purpose is to make the world a better place with a global recycling program. They're diverting soap bars and plastic amenities that they collect, which would, in the hospitality, would otherwise discard into the landfills. And they're manufacturing these into new soap bars. So by doing so, Clean the World helps to reduce pollution, save water, and decrease carbon footprint of thousands of hotel partners globally. And I think this is really neat. Every single hotel and resort in Las Vegas participates in this program. They're based out of Miami. However, they have two factories, and one of them is in Miami, the other one's in Las Vegas. So we're going to get to go to the factory and see how this recycling program works and be a part of it. And the once the soap bars are created and packaged, they're helping to improve the lives of women and children and communities worldwide by donating these new soap bars to global NGOs and the Wash Foundation, which I shared with you guys a couple of weeks ago. But these go to organizations like Amnesty International, Red Cross, CARES, Save the World, or Save the Children, and what's the other one? World Life Fund. And so we're really having fantastic opportunities with Bryte Lyfe to connect to some really special and some really big organizations. And I know that on each of the trips that I've been on, one of my greatest takeaways is getting to do something like this and just the feeling that we have after we leave as a team. We get to take photos, so it's so important that everybody be buying their gear for Vegas for numerous reasons. Buy yourself a couple of items for sure, but we'll need everyone to wear their t-shirts and comfortable pants and tennis shoes in the factory. And for those of you that are arriving before 2 p.m. on that Friday, then you're a great candidate for this. We are only allowed to take 40 people into the factory. So this is a first come, first served project. And I'm asking that you email me if you're going to participate at concierge@brytelyfe.com. Once we have the group together, you guys will be receiving more information on an email, and I'm sure there'll be another training where I can give the final details of exactly where we're going to meet up. I'm working on transportation to pick us up at the best lobby at Resorts World. That will get us right over to Clean the World Foundation, which is just actually 5 minutes, 5 miles away. So it won't be a long drive, and we're going to have a lot of fun. So, Wes, thank you so much for the time to talk about this. I'm really looking forward to participating with Clean the World Foundation.
I think that this is a perfect synergy for us. Obviously, doing something that's sustainable for the environment. And obviously, for me personally, I've traveled so much. And I had mentioned before that I used to collect, the unused soaps or the ones that I used that I didn't finish, lotions, soaps, and things like that. And I had this plastic bag, and I would store them. And then there was actually a women's shelter that was not far from where I lived, and I used to drop them off, once a month or whatever, because I was traveling so much. And I always wondered what happened to all of that stuff. I've continued over the years to wonder about these single use containers, and these, shampoo bottles and soap bottles. And obviously, they're made of plastic. And so we all know that those things are not great for the environment. And then obviously the soap, when you're using a soap bar and it's not used, it gets thrown away. I always wondered about it. So when Eva found this organization, I thought this was such a great fit for us, for what we're doing and promoting and giving back and making a difference. And so we're looking forward to doing some more projects with them. And it's just reminded me how important it is to be good stewards as we're, traveling and seeing the world and giving back and trying to make an impact or a difference whenever we go, instead of just using and taking. I think it's a totally different mentality. And I think that's what Give Life is all about. So we would love to have everybody that's arriving early Friday afternoon to participate. I'll be there. The team will be there, the corporate team. So you'll get a chance to hang with everybody. A lot of the leaders I've talked to are planning on participating, but we are limited just because of the size of the facility and what they can handle. So we'll be the first 40 people. So just make sure if you're planning on going, send your RSVP to concierge at Bryte Lyfe so that we can get you on the list. Now, before I move in today's training, I want to talk about a promotion that we're kicking off this week, because the ticket prices obviously went up this week for the event. But since new people did not get an opportunity to purchase during the early bird general admission, instead of penalizing the brand new people, what we're going to do is any new member who joins Bryte Lyfe and purchases their ticket to the Vegas conference during their first week. So during their first 7 days, any new member who joins and purchases a conference ticket will be given an additional conference ticket that they can assign. So if they have a spouse or significant other, boyfriend, girlfriend that's coming with them, business partner, or if they want to buy a ticket and then allow somebody on their team, or maybe even the person who signed them up. But it will encourage you to get all of your new people as soon as they join to sign up, because every new member who purchases a conference ticket in their first 7 days will automatically be given 2 tickets that they can assign the second ticket. So that is a special promotion that is kicking off today. So anybody who joined in the last 3 or 4 or 5 days, they're eligible. So anybody who joins now and purchases a conference ticket in their first 7 days, so that would be anybody that joined this week, anybody that joins from now until conference, as long as they purchase their conference ticket in their first 7 days, they'll be given a 2-for-1. And so great way to get, if they're married, for their husband or their wife to be able to come, or partner, boyfriend, girlfriend, significant other, so that they can get their whole family involved, obviously, as well. And as far as the conference goes, we will be selling this event out, it appears. So we're trending to where we're going to have to cut off ticket sales at some point. So make sure you keep that in mind. And we are limited on the Atomic Golf Party as well. So just keep that in mind as you're talking about tickets with everyone, as you're talking about Vegas. And go back and listen to the training I did 2 weeks ago, where I talked about how that was the $1 billion secret weapon of my previous company, was our training and our events. So if you've not watched that, share that with your team, watch it, and make sure that people are seeing that. So I want to make sure that you knew about that. Now, what I want to do today is a little bit different, but it does go back to a training that I did back in August. If you go to the Bryte Lyfe YouTube channel and you go back to August, and in fact, I'll give you the exact date of that training. It was on August 10th, 2024. I was in Vegas, And I did a training, and I would encourage you to go watch that as an assignment today. Anybody who's watching this, even if you remember that training, I would go back and watch it. It's an hour. I did that training live from Vegas. And there had been a couple of companies in the direct sales industry that had recently terminated their distributors. There had been a couple of companies that had changed their names. And merged. Okay. And one of the things that as a business person, as an entrepreneur, anytime you see companies merge, okay, one of them is always in a bad situation, right? Companies never generally merge when both companies are excelling, growing, and kicking butt. Okay. So someone is usually being acquired, and usually there's a reason. It's usually related to money or capital. And so anytime you see a company, and I talked about this in this training, in this video, I talked about the signs of distress. Okay. And this is very important because it's super timely right now for what's happening. And there's going to be more of it. And here's what's interesting is that, I hate saying I told you so, because there were friends of mine that were affected by the news yesterday of Modere closing its doors. And it's a company who's done, a massive amount of good and volume and revenue. I don't know where their lifetime sales numbers are going to land, but it's hundreds of millions of dollars. And it's sad to me that this news has broken, that they are closing their doors, with hundreds of thousands of customers and reps over the years. And so I talked about this back in August, and I talked about what was leading to product-based companies being in trouble in the economy. Because if you look at these companies that had problems last year, Rodan and Fields, Beauty Control, I mean, it was coming off of the heels of Rodan and Fields. It was when I made this video in August, and I talked about in this video that there would be more, of this. And I said, because I have insider information, I know for a fact there are a lot of companies that and you've heard the names, and they're big companies that have done billions, companies that have done hundreds of millions, that are in trouble. They're in trouble financially. They're in trouble because of increased competition, especially in some of these products, wellness, skincare, because of TikTok, because of China, because of cheaper goods, because of brands like the Kardashians and the Jenners of the world, and all of these influencers that are now creating their own beauty line. I saw actually yesterday, this was on Forbes yesterday, was that Hailey Bieber is considering a sale of her cosmetic skincare company, okay? And that the valuation is going to be over $1 billion. All right. So all of these traditional product-based MLMs are facing extreme pressures from so many fronts. Okay. So you have the influencers, you have TikTok, you have Sephora, you have Shein, you have cheap products coming in from China and Asia. And this is obviously leading to these tariff conversations. And so that's why I wanted to talk about this today, because this is such a bigger topic. And this is part of the reason that Trump is doing what he's doing with tariffs, is because of exactly what I told you about in August, with inflation, with price control, with price gouging, with the fact that all of these outlying countries that we import from, the cost of the labor there is literally pennies, single digit percentage points of what labor costs are here. So you think about a lot of these products that are manufactured here in the US, and these companies that are selling their products here in the US, they're paying higher prices for ingredients, but if they're manufacturing it here, their labor costs compared to all these other outlying countries, Vietnam, China, Taiwan, Mexico, all of these places. I mean, in Mexico, for example, okay, the minimum wage is $1 per hour. So in Mexico, the minimum wage is $8 a day. So how is it that you could compete as a manufacturer of products, of goods, okay, tangible things that have to be made, when inflation has caused the majority of these products, ingredients, and components? So it's not, when I'm saying ingredients, it's not just like wellness, okay, and skincare and vitamins, all right? When I say ingredients, it also covers components of making anything that's a physical, tangible good. Because inflation has been high, because of all the money that's been pumped into the system, and all of the stimulus money that all of the countries around the world did during the pandemic and after the pandemic, the PPP money, the ERC money, the giving a check to every U.S. citizen. I mean, like, all of these actions to stimulate the economy and to prop up the economy had consequences that got kicked down the curb. And I talked about this. Go back and watch the video from August. And I said there was going to be more. And I said I knew personally that there are companies, and like I said, I have insider information. I can't talk about names and specifics, but there are companies that that are still out there doing business that are in extreme dire straits, that are in extreme financial problems because of all of these things: labor costs, component costs, ingredient costs, increased shipping, supply chain, manufacturing, distribution, logistics, all of these things that go into getting a physical product from idea to delivered to a customer. All of those things along the way, they've all gone up. Some of them have gone up threefold, twofold, fivefold. I mean, when I was doing construction and doing remodeling during the pandemic, 21 and 22, following the pandemic, I had a big real estate company that I was doing flips and doing remodels. The price of plywood was up 5, 6, 700% for sheets of plywood, which we had to use for exterior and for laying underneath flooring. That was just one product, just one example. And so I watched all of this happen. And so I've been warning people about what was going to happen with the market, what was going to happen with crypto, because as a business owner, I have to think of things as the CEO. I have to think of things for you and for the company and be ahead of all of those things. And that's why it's important to get your people on these trainings, because I started talking about this last year, and then I did an entire training on it in August. And I said in that video, there will be more bankruptcies. There will be more closures. There are companies that are out of money, that are on life support. And the reason why Rodan and Fields terminated their distributors and didn't close their doors is because they had to raise money. And the only way they could get money was to remove their biggest liability. And their biggest liability was their distributors. That was their biggest expense. It's their biggest top line expense. It's also our biggest expense, right? So if we were out of money, which we're not, we've been debt-free since day one, profitable since day one. We built this company to be able to scale to the billions and to never have financial problems because of the way we've structured ourselves. And so we don't have any tangible goods that we have to produce. We don't have any ingredients we have to buy. We don't have to pay for manufacturing. So we don't need to find cheap labor, or we don't have to now deal with how are we going to make these products here or get these ingredients here, because now tariffs have raised the prices 100%, 50%. I mean, think about that, right? Look at what's happened to Apple stock in the last 2.5 weeks, okay? Apple was almost $4 trillion. It took Apple 40 years to get to $1 trillion market cap. And then it went from 1 trillion to almost 4 trillion in under 5 years. Okay? That makes no sense. Makes absolutely no sense that the company took 40 years to get to $1 trillion in market cap, and then in under 5 years, it went to almost 4 trillion. Same thing with NVIDIA. NVIDIA was almost 4 trillion. Now look at their market caps. Well, here's the problem. When we have tariffs of 125%, that literally just took the price of an iPhone, where almost all of the components are not only made, but assembled in these countries where you have these new tariffs. And so that's just one example of what it looks like when you are controlled by all these external forces. And so I don't know what the situation is with Modere and what was the driving force. I don't know what caused them to go out of business. But I know that Rodan and Fields would have been out of business, but instead of filing bankruptcy, they chose to terminate their distributors last year. And that's when I had made this other video in August. And I said that there was going to be more. And so we are in a very unique situation right now. And I mentioned this on the call last Sunday and I posted it because I think this is important. And I was talking about what was going to continue happening in the market. And you saw a little bit of a bounce this week when some of the tariffs were delayed. But once again, I told you last week, the tariffs are not the reason why the market is crashing and why these prices or these stocks are going down. They're going down because they went up for no reason for 10 years, you know? And so literally 8 to 10 years of straight up, what goes up must come down. There had to be a correction. There has to be a settling out of a lot of this money. I mean, Apple goes from 40 years to $1 trillion to almost 4 trillion in 5 years. And then literally in the last 2.5 weeks, they've lost over $1 trillion. Apple's lost over $1 trillion in market cap in 2.5 weeks. Evaporated. That's over $1 trillion that just got evaporated out of people's portfolios, out of their investment accounts, gone. Poof. Okay. Paper money, right? It's in the air. It's on paper. It never was real. Okay. It never existed. And so, but now those prices have come back down. I don't think that the selling is over. I think you're going to continue to hear about this. This is just the beginning. And I mentioned in my other videos on social media that they were going to have an excuse for when this stuff started to happen. So why does this matter to you right now? Well, the reason it does is because we've been talking about this since August, really since before. So if you're focusing on your business and you're building your business right now, you have a recession proof, you have a tariff proof business that doesn't depend on labor costs. It doesn't depend on components. It doesn't depend on ingredients. It doesn't depend on what the cost is on FedEx and UPS. I mentioned in one of the videos, it probably was the video in August. I'm pretty sure. I didn't go back and watch that video last night. I just know the video and I know the talk. But I think I talked in there about how UPS, and I think it's been about a year ago now, a year and a half ago, UPS quadrupled. Okay, there was a big strike of UPS workers, and they quadrupled the salary of UPS delivery drivers. So there was a big strike. They wound up extending these contracts. Part of it was union, and they wound up like quadrupling, and it was like insane. In some markets, UPS drivers' salaries went from like 40, 50,000 a year to like in some cases like 180,000, $165,000 for UPS drivers. So you think about that. That's logistics. That's what the cost of getting your product if you're selling a physical product. So who do you think got to pay for that 4x or 3x or 3.5x of these drivers' salaries? Well, the customers of UPS. I mean, it's not like UPS just all of a sudden, tripled or quadrupled their revenue overnight. No, the only way you can do that, just like Apple. So this is what I saw this week, was that one report said that the price of an iPhone is going to double over the next year. So the price of an iPhone is going to double because of these things that we've just been talking about. So it gets passed to the consumer. So if you're a consumer, i.e. business, that's using UPS or FedEx to ship your products, now it costs you 2, 3. If you go back and look at UPSs and FedEx, heck, look at a stamp. I don't even know what a stamp costs, but I remember as a kid, like a stamp was like 10 cents. Well, does anybody know even what a post? I don't even know what a postage stamp, what it costs now. Would somebody put it in the chat box what a postage stamp costs? Anybody know? Nobody uses mail anymore. I think it's like almost $1 or something. It's wild. It's crazy. Here, I'm curious now. Now I'm gonna nobody. Oh wait, there it is. Somebody put it in here. Hold on. It's almost $1, I think. Uh, 78 cents. Okay, thank you, BJ. 78 cents for a stamp. I remember when I was a kid, it was 10 cents. Okay, yeah, Denson just said 78 cents, almost $1 for a stamp. And so I think that over the last 10 years, it's gone from 30 cents to 80 cents. Okay. And so that's 3 to 4 times increase in the price of stamps in the last 10 years. That should summarize right there what's happening to all of these physical based product companies. Because guess who gets to pay for that? So guess who buys less of your stuff and will order less and do less and spend less if they're having to spend 3 or 4 times for shipping what they used to pay. And then you have all the ingredient factors, and you had costs that were the all of the like raw goods, like the crops, corn and soy, and like all of the things that have happened over the last 4 or 5 years when there have been shortages of that. And then the prices of eggs, that's been a big one, where eggs have been, the prices are up 300%, 400%, 500%. Some of these are base ingredients for a lot of wellness products, whether it's keto products or weight loss products or raw ingredients that ground down. And so why does this matter to you? Because like I said, our business is recession proof. I already did this in 2008 and 2009. And because it was discounts and wholesale and people were looking to save money, we grew when everybody else was going down. We were literally back in 8, 9, 10. We were like the only company on the DSN top 100 direct sales companies with a green arrow. We didn't grow a lot, but we grew, and everybody else was red, 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 red. Because almost all of the companies on the DSN top 100 are product-based companies. And so they were seeing similar situations back in the last recession to what we started to see last year. And this is why I predicted in that training that we were in a recession, that the recession was here, we were coming, and that you needed to be prepared for it, because we had an opportunity that could be global, that could be in any currency, in any country, in any language, and they were not going to close the hotels. They're not going to close the airports. People are still going to travel during a down economy, during a recession. And our business is completely recession proof. And so, unfortunately, for the distributors at Modere, they found that out yesterday, just like Rodan and Fields Reps and Beauty Control and several others. And, I could go on and on and on. I mean, there's just been so many. Prove It just got sold 2 weeks ago to Herbalife. I mean, look, the list goes on and on. Okay. And so you should be blessed right now. You should understand how blessed we are. But the other thing is that this is our time to grow, right? There were more millionaires that were created percentage-wise during the Great Depression than any other time in history. That was where people found opportunity. That was where people pulled up their bootstraps and went out and got it done and made it happen. And I think sometimes when people's backs are against the wall, there was an incredible story I read yesterday about a guy who plays baseball for the Yankees. He's on the Yankees roster. He was on the roster opening day, and he's been in the majors and been in and out for a decade. Was driving Uber, okay, and I can't remember his name, but it literally was just in the news on ESPN yesterday. And so you can Google Yankee player, Uber driver, and the story's crazy. But you know what he said? He said, look, I had no choice. I had to provide for my family. I had to go out and get something done, make something happen if I wanted to continue to pursue my dreams of playing professional baseball. But he's like, I just did what I had to do. And I think this is an opportunity right now for us to reach out to people that have done other businesses, that have been part of companies that have got shut down, or that are in industries that are going to be affected. There's going to be fallout in certain industries from some of what's happening in the economy. And it's not just about the tariffs. I told you guys about this stuff a year ago. So, I mean, they were going to blame it on something. I mean, so tariffs is the rhetoric. Okay. This is not just about the tariffs. I mean, this is about inflation globally and the extra money that's been printed globally. And this was coming. I mean, to me, this was very easy to see. I mean, what goes up must come down at some point. It's not going to go up forever. And so we are in a great position right now. So what I would encourage you to do is to be a guiding light. Be hope for the people who maybe feel like they've lost hope. Maybe somebody who's disgruntled with MLM. Maybe their company got shut down. Maybe you know somebody that's been part of one of these companies that's closed their doors. And be hope that they can do it. They can try it again. Just because they failed once or the company failed does not mean that other opportunities are going to fail, that they are going to fail. We have a system. We have people winning. We have people ranking up in their first week, their first 2 weeks. I mean, we have tons of recognition that have happened over the last 30 to 60 days. We're trying to figure out what trophies we're going to use and how many we need, because we've got so many people hitting rank every single week right now for our conference in Vegas. And so if you want to get recognized in Vegas, you need to be hitting your ranks. And so we can make sure we have trophies for you, because we're going to blow you away. We're doing some really cool stuff that's never been done before. And we're excited to celebrate with you. We're excited to celebrate our 1-year anniversary with you. This Vegas event is going to be absolutely incredible. I told you a couple weeks ago that you could guarantee 5 sales for every person you get to Vegas over the 30 to 60 days afterwards, and possibly even as many as 10 to 15 sales for every person that you get to Vegas. I've been looking at what we're building. I know all of the announcements. I know all of the new partners. I know all of the new value. You're just going to be blown away. When we walk out of Vegas, this will be something that is already is something that's never happened before. We have things that nobody's ever had before. I talked to somebody who's one of our up and coming leaders the other day, and he said, I found another company that has a travel website, and I'm like, yeah, that's just a white label website. Anybody can go get a white label website. We own our own technology. We've built everything. The relationships we've created are ours. Their partnerships with Bryte Lyfe. You can't get what we have anywhere else in one place for these prices. It doesn't exist. And so we have something that's very special, that is not duplicatable, that no one else will have, no one else can do. And we're so far ahead of the competition, and we don't have any of these issues that I've just talked about. We don't make physical products. We don't buy components. We don't have a big warehouse. We don't have a big office. Everything we have is digital. Everything we have is virtual. We are selling other people's stuff that they have to build, they have to create, they have to fulfill. It doesn't affect us. And so we are going to be insulated and isolated from all of this outline chaos that is going on in the world over the next probably 6 to 12 months, maybe 18 months to 2 years. I mean, a lot of these cycles, and my degree's in political science, and it's one of the reasons why I look at things the way that I do in the economy. And I studied a lot of economics classes and economics of history and over civilizations. And so these things come in cycles, they come in waves. And so you're going to see a period of slowdown. You're going to see a period where it's going to be a year to maybe 2 years of this recessionary, deflationary period where things are going to go down in price eventually, but it's going to be pain. Like Trump said this last week, sometimes you have to take your medicine. I mean, all these people that have made all this money in the market over the last 8 years, I mean, did you just think you were just going to keep getting 7 to 10, 15% gains every single year, and it was just going to go up forever and it was never going to go down? I mean, it just doesn't make any sense. And so that's part of what he's talking about. Yeah, these tech titans. I mean, Mark Zuckerberg and Tim Case and a lot of these guys, over the last few weeks, Jeff Bezos, they've lost billions of dollars, billions, because Apple's lost over $1 trillion in market cap. Meta's lost hundreds of billions in market cap. So, this is just part of what goes up must come down. And so this doesn't affect us. This is good for us because there's going to be people that are hungry, that are their backs are against the wall, and their opportunity may be gone, or they may have gotten laid off. There's going to be layoffs, right? I mean, these are all opportunities, and we are a solution. So people are praying for what we have. We have something that's unique, that's proprietary, that no one else has, that's completely recession proof, that is isolated from all of these, tariffs and everything else. I mean, we've got something that nobody else has. And so we need to be proud of it. We need to be talking to people about it. We can't be afraid. You have no idea what people's financial situations are. I mentioned before in the corporate call, foreclosures are higher than they were in 2008 and 9 as far as the number of percentage of foreclosures in the country. The percentage of people that are late on their car payment has never been higher in our country ever. So people are late on their car payment. They're late on their house payment right now. Massive, massive amounts of people. So we are a gift. We are a solution. Let's get out there and be the solution. Let's be the answer. Let's be the hope. Let's be the light. Let's don't be the negative, and let's definitely don't be ostriches and put our heads in the sand and pretend like this is going to go away anytime soon, because it's not. This is just the beginning. You're going to see more of this. There's going to be more companies closing their doors. The signs of distress. Go back and watch that video. Changing names, merging, rebranding, relaunching, all of these things that companies do. These are always signs of a distress. It's the upside down flag in maritime law. When you put your flag on your boat upside down, it's a sign of distress. And that's unfortunately because these other companies were not prepared and were not expecting this and didn't know how to handle it, didn't know how to handle inflation and pricing pressure and increase competition from China and Shein and TikTok and the influencers and the Kardashians and all this other stuff. It's all combined to where we are right now in the market and the economy, and we're insulated from that. We're in a great place. And so keep your heads up, keep talking to people, share this training with people. It's going to be posted within the hour. It'll be on here, so get it to your team. Watch that training from August 10th. It was all there. The writing was on the wall. I've been seeing this I've been saying it for almost a year. So, I mean, August 10th, go watch the training, go watch the video. And let's take advantage of what's happening right now. Not advantage of the people and of the situation, but take advantage of the market that we're in and of what we've created. And that's why we built Bryte Lyfe the way we did, so that if money doesn't come in, money doesn't go out. We don't have a lot of these things that we can't control that have to be paid whether we make money or not. We built the business in a different way that is going to be here for your kids, your grandkids, your great-grandkids, and you can be proud of that. So thank you for everybody who got on here live today. It's good seeing everyone. Make sure you get this information to your team. It's super timely. You're going to have people that are talking about this stuff and wondering about it. And you may know people who have been part of these companies that have closed their doors. They're going to be looking, it's a bad place right now for them. They're sad, they're disappointed. Some people are going to feel like giving up and blame the industry, but it's not the industry. We have a solution that can help a lot of people. So let's just make sure everybody understands it. So let's get out there and have a great week. We'll see you tomorrow night. Got a great corporate call planned for you tomorrow evening, 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern, followed by what's been our biggest Zoom of the week at 8 p.m. Central, 9 p.m. Eastern. And that will be followed by the next session of the Path to 100K mentorship. We'd still love to get you involved in that. Had a ton of people that plugged in this week. The first two calls were Sunday and Wednesday. The next one is tomorrow night, 8:30 Central, immediately following the Zoom, 9:30 p.m. Eastern, neteasymarketing.com. You can get on that one, even if you weren't on the first two. You can go back and watch the first two from Sunday and Wednesday on my personal YouTube page. Just put in YouTube Wes Melcher. You'll see those last two videos are on there. So we'd love to see you. Get your new people into that mentorship group. This is going to be the group that's going to make things happen. I'm going to be talking about some different business things in this mentorship as well. People have been asking about the economy. I'm going to be answering some questions about that and talking about some different ways that you can make money in a down market and some things that you can do to protect yourself. So going to be going through some of that in the mentorship as well. So get your people involved, even those of you that are on here. We'd love to have you in the mentorship group tomorrow night. So 8:30 Central, 9:30 p.m. Eastern, Sundays and Wednesdays, neteasymarketing.com. Have a great weekend. God bless. We'll see you tomorrow night. And congrats, our biggest sales week ever. I forgot about that too. It's our biggest sales week ever. This week just ended. And so sales are exploding. We'll have a ton of recognition tomorrow night. So get your people on there so that they can see all the recognition of what's happening. Have a great day.